Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assembly members Anderson, Backus, Brown May, Dickman, Hafen, Hibbets, Haudegi, Koenig, Mosca, O'Neill, Torres Fawcett, Watts, Yeager, and Chair Monroe Moreno.
And I am here. I'll remind everyone in the audience and members to silence your electronic devices. Put them on mute. Members will be utilizing their laptops to follow along with today's meeting. We will have public comment at the end of today's meeting. That number is 888-475-4499. The meeting ID is 851-020-13499, and then please press pound. We have 8 bills that we will be hearing today. I will remind members that the majority of the bills that are on our agenda are just here for a fiscal overview, fiscal hearing. They have already had their policy hearing in the policy committee, so we're not here to discuss the policy of the bill, simply the fiscal aspects of it. We will have one bill hearing, our very last bill, that this will be its policy and fiscal hearing. We also have a bill introduction, and that's what we will start out with. As we go through the agenda, I will be taking bills out of order. But let's start out with our bill introduction. And members, I will remind you that a vote for this BDR does not constitute your support of the measure as it moves through the legislative process. It's simply to put this BDR into that process. So we have BDR S-1173, which makes a supplemental appropriation to the Aging and Disability Services Division of the Department of Health and Human Services for an unanticipated shortfall related to costs associated with certain provider payments. And I'll accept a motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Assembly Member Buck as a second from Assembly Member Haudegi. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right, moving on to our first bill for the day. Assembly Bill 58. Assembly Bill 58 revises various provisions relating to gaming. Good morning and welcome to Ways and Means.
Good morning, Chairman Monroe Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sebastian Ross, Senior Policy Counsel with the Nevada Gaming Control Board. Joining us in Las Vegas in the audience is Board Chairman Kurt Kendrick, Jim Barbie, Chief of the Technology Division, and Nathan Riggle, Chief of the Administration Division. We're here today because the board believed a fiscal note of approximately $15,400 was needed for AB 58 due to the anticipated agency revenue reduction from the proposed removal of the term cash access and wagering instrument service provider from statute. The board submitted a revised fiscal note yesterday based on a recent gaming industry notice of a minor fee increase within our technology division, and that equals out the fiscal note. As a brief walkthrough of what happened, Reprint 1 removed Section 1, and as a result, the fiscal note impact for card and dice registration was removed. The fiscal impact from the proposed removal of cash access and wagering instrument service provider registrations will be funded through the increase of agency-imposed fees. The board's recent industry notice, 2025-37, was issued on May 8, 2025, which increases the board's technology fees effective June 2, 2025, leaving no negative impact to the state in regard to the proposals within Sections 3, 5, and 7 within AB 58. Thank you, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of the committee. We're happy to answer any questions as this completes the board's presentation of Assembly Bill 58.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the amended language. So, to my understanding, with the board's increased fee, that will go into effect June 2nd of this year, correct?
Sebastian Ross, for the record, correct.
And that fee will offset, so the fiscal note is totally removed.
Sebastian Ross for the record, correct.
Thank you. Members, any questions? All right, I am not seeing any. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll ask you to step back, and I'll invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 58. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Moreno and committee members, Misty Grimmer, GRIMMER, representing the Nevada Resort Association. As you might imagine, we work very closely with the GCB, and we are in support of this bill and their budget request, or not request, but the budget amendment.
Thank you so much. Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that'd like to testify in support? Not seeing anyone come to the table there. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 58?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 58, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in support.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 58? Not seeing anyone at the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 58?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 58, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We will close opposition and move to neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 58? Not seeing anyone here at the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go to the phone lines for the last time.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 58, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsor, and he's shaking his head no for no closing comments. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 58. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 123, which revises provisions relating to elections communications, and invite Assemblymember Nadeem to the table. Good morning, and welcome to your first hearing in Ways and Means.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you, Chair Moreno and members of the committee. For the record, I am Hanadi Nadeem, representing Assembly District 34 in Clark County. I am pleased to present Assembly Bill 123 before you today, along with Athar Hasibullah, Executive Director of ACLU of Nevada. This bill addresses threats against and intimidation of candidates for public office. Unfortunately, I have had first-hand experience with receiving death threats in connection to a political campaign. This past year, when I was running for the Assembly, I was subject to disgraceful campaign tactics that incited others to threaten my life. It was truly a horrific experience I do not wish upon anyone, whether it be a fellow candidate, voter, or Nevadans. As someone who was targeted during my campaign, I am passionate about reducing violence and intimidation during political campaigns, and I believe AB 123 will help achieve that goal. With that, Chair, I will hand it off to Athar Hasibullah to explain it further. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Athar Hasibullah, first name spelled Athar, last name Hasibullah, Haseebullah. I serve as the Executive Director for the American Civil Liberties Union of Nevada. Just a brief overview of the bill itself. Section 2 of the bill defines the specific terms with harassment upon a candidate. Sections 3 and 4 make specific requirements upon Section 3 makes requirements upon the Office of the Secretary of State to conduct an investigation into those allegations. We've had a number of conversations with the Secretary of State's office and Chief of Staff Gabe DeCara with a reduced scope, which will be done by adding an imminency requirement, which we were, based on our assessment of case law on the back end, required to input. And I believe we were aspiring to do that, and we'll add that language before it goes to the floor. With that, as well as making some of the terms less prescriptive, we have spoken to the SOS office, and they have stated that they will be able to remove the fiscal note. I believe there's a representative here from the Secretary's office this morning as well, that the note should end up reading as 0 thereafter.
Thank you both. If there is someone here from the Secretary of State's office, I invite you to the table to address the fiscal note. Because as it stands today, it would have a 411,891 fiscal impact in FY23, 518 in FY27.
Good morning.
morning.
Erin Houston for the record, appearing on behalf of the Nevada Secretary of State's office. Yes, with the imminency requirement added to the amendment, we believe that that will reduce the fiscal impact to virtually nothing, hopefully, which is essentially the desire to reduce the caseload by requiring that there's an imminency element to these reports.
Thank you so much for that. And when, Assemblymember Nadine, when do you expect to have that amendment? Would you have an amendment in time for a work session? Because I don't see this bill moving out of this committee without that amendment removing that fiscal note.
Chair, if I may answer that question, for the record, Atar Hasibullah, that amendment will be in today. We were also attempting to make a couple of latter provisions a little bit less prescriptive in that regard, but that will be into the committee today.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing that amendment. Members, any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you so much. I'll invite you to take a seat back in the audience, and we'll invite anyone to the table that's here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 123. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City, and not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 123?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 123, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, SHELBIE, SWARTZ, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress and Institute for Progressive Nevada. We are in strong support of this bill, and we thank Assemblymember Nadeem and the ACLU of Nevada for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 201, please press star 6 to unmute.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora, and that is spelled PERSAUD-ZAMORA. I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Voices, calling in support on behalf of our organization and the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition in strong support of AB 123. I'll keep it short. We thank the Assembly Member Nadeem for this amazing bill, and thank the ACLU of Nevada for all of their work, and we urge the committee to vote yes on this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no additional callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much, and we will close support and we'll move to opposition. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 123, I invite you to the table. And not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City and no one in Las Vegas, we'll go back to our phone lines. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 123?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 123, press star 9 to raise your hand.
Good morning. My name is Iris Stone, spelled IRISSTONE, and I oppose AB 123. This bill duplicates NRS 200.571 under the rubric of harassment and stalking. The harassment clause outlines clear consequences for violation, which, by the way, are repeated in this proposed bill. While I condemn any harassment, the existing law applies to all Nevadans equally. It doesn't make sense to create a duplicate process tailored for candidates. Candidates should know that under NRS 200.571, they get their harassment case adjudicated by the Nevada Attorney General. In addition, this bill brings the Secretary of State in the loop to take charge of the investigation. Why is that? It's another overreach and duplication of effort that's being introduced by this statute. All it does is increase the cost of running our government, as was pointed out at the beginning of this hearing. NRS 225 describes the SOS, the Secretary of State's duties, that they are limited to civil cases such as securities fraud, Ponzi schemes, investment fraud, corporate ownership, etc., and also election fraud. It does not include cases such as harassment or stalking. Therefore, let's remove the Secretary of State as the middleman and have candidates work directly with the State Attorney General's criminal investigation. And if the Attorney General's office deems it necessary to engage with the Secretary of State, then let that office be the judge. AB 123 is superfluous and should not be considered for a vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Good morning. My name is Ellen Gifford, ELLEN, GIFF in Frank, ORD as in David. As just stated, Nevada already has a law addressing harassment, which is a crime punishable by imprisonment. Harassment includes threatening someone's life, among other threats of harm. This law applies to anyone, anywhere in Nevada. Nevada also has a law that describes what a person can do to protect themselves if the crime of harassment is performed against them. There is a process in place. There is clear guidance to victims of harassment, whether they are a candidate, a judicial officer, or a taxi driver. These existing laws cover all harassment victims. It's troubling to know that members of Nevada's Assembly have been victims of this crime, and it's even more troubling that the steps that can be taken for protection were not taken, perhaps due to being unaware of existing law. These steps can be taken immediately, which they should be when your life is threatened. There should be no 30-day wait for a report from the Secretary of State, followed by another investigation by the Attorney General. A death threat or threat of bodily injury is just that. Nevada law addressing the duties of the Secretary of State include investigations of civil matters, not criminal matters. Threats against our lives are criminal matters, and existing law enforcement measures must be applied as quickly as possible. AB 123 does not protect anyone. Existing laws do, and it's important that everyone knows they are in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Perrine, CYNTHIAPERINE. I am in opposition of this bill. It is duplicative, no need to bring in the Secretary of State, and it will cost $1 million in extra expense. I am in opposition, and thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 123, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition testimony.
Thank you so much. Did you want to testify in opposition? Yes.
Just less than 20 seconds. Cyrus Hojjati, Hojjaty. I'm in opposition. I will ditto the previous caller, even though that I do appreciate that this issue is being brought forward. I am sorry in case if the sponsor or anybody had to go through some unpleasant experiences running for office. And we believe this is a very important issue. But other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else for testimony in opposition, we will move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City or Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 123? Not seeing anyone come to the table and either. We'll go back to the phone lines for the last time. Is there anyone joining us that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 123?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 123, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll ask the sponsor of the bill if you have any closing remarks, and she's shaking her head no. So no closing remarks. We will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 123, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your patience. We will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 204, which revises provisions relating to medical debt. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Chair Moreno and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. I'm Max Carter, Assembly District 12, representing the east side of Las Vegas and the far north side of Henderson. I'm here today to talk about the fiscal note on AB 204. The proposed amendment that we have in place right now makes it to where Section 13 has been amended to include requirements for the payment plan that healthcare entities and collection agencies must comply with, therefore removing the requirement for the FID to develop regulations. In addition, this is model language from the National Consumer Law Center. And I want to take and also make it clear that the payment plan provisions that are put in by this, the payment plan provisions provided for in Section 13 in the amendment only apply when a healthcare entity or collection agency wants to report negative information to a consumer reporting agency regarding a medical debt. If they do not want to report, the payment plan provisions in Section 13 do not apply. And we've provided the email chain that shows where the director of FID says that if this amendment is implemented, that it will eliminate the fiscal note. And I do just want to comment that yes, because of this amendment and changing the way we're doing things, we're having some policy discussions, and you're likely to hear some opposition today that has nothing to do with the fiscal note, that it does have to do with the ongoing policy that we are working out. We're diligently working with all of the partners to rectify. And thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation and for letting us know about the opposition. I'll remind people that this is not the policy hearing. I could care less about the policy in this committee. I care about the fiscal. We're here about the money. So remember that when you come to the table to testify. I see the amendment. You had mentioned that there's an email chain. I don't have that, but if we do have the agency here that can testify in response to their fiscal note, that would be great. But I do not see in my folder, and we may have just missed it putting it in.
I apologize for that, and I'm not sure if Mary Young, the deputy commissioner, is in attendance or not. And so I will get that email chain to you because I don't see anybody coming up towards the table.
Thank you. I look forward to getting that email chain and a conversation with them, if at all possible, before we could set this for a work session. Members, do you have any questions? Okay. If we have anyone in the room that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 204, I invite you to the table here in Carson City and in Las Vegas. Good morning and welcome to Ways.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Ways and Means Committee. Leah Cartwright, LEACARTWRIGHT, here today on behalf of the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and appreciate Assemblymember Carter for bringing this legislation and having all of these stakeholder meetings to sort through the policy and address the fiscal note. Thank you.
Jonathan Norman, Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers, NORMAN. We've been involved in this bill from the beginning, are in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
CYRUS, HOJJATY. I just looked at the bill, a lot of good things about it, and this is serious concern. We have a lot of debt problems. We got to handle these things. I appreciate it. Ditto.
Good morning, Daniel Stewart for the record, DANIELSTEWART, here on behalf of Clark County Collection Services. We've been working very diligently with the sponsors on this, and I know it's a policy amendment, but the amendment to allow the wage garnishment to continue. We really appreciate the work with the sponsors, and we are in support of this bill. Ditto. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else at the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone lines. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 204.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 204, please press star 9 to join the queue.
Good morning, Michelle Johnston, MICHELLEJOHNSTON, Director of Advocacy and Policy with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. We thank the author and we are in support of this bill.
Thank you. Next caller.
Yeah. Bob Blackstock from West Reno, calling in support of this bill. Name is spelled B-O-B, first name is B-O-B, and last name is Blackstock, and that's...
We can hear you, Mr. Blackstock.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm interfacing between the video and the phone. Yeah, Blackstock is the last name, and that's spelled black is the color, and stock is in well stocked. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other callers?
Chair, there are no additional callers for support at this time.
Thank you so much. And then we'll move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 204, I invite you to the table.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sarah Adler, ADLER. I represent the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and we just wish to share with this committee that the fiscal impact on OBGYNs and other providers could be very significant as a result of this bill. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Snyder, Jeff Snyder, SNYDER. I'm the Executive Director at OBGYN Associates and also serve as an unpaid co-liaison for Nevada MGMA. We oppose this bill. We submitted comments regarding that and appreciate the opportunity to express our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go down south. You can go ahead in Las Vegas.
Good morning, Chairman Moreno and members of the committee. My name is Jacqueline Nguyen, Nguyen, and I represent the Nevada State Medical Association. Over the past few months, we've been working very diligently with stakeholders and the bill sponsor. We absolutely know that this is just the fiscal concerns. I'd like to ditto the comments before that really the fiscal impact of this bill on healthcare providers is great, as well as the fiscal impact of the administrative burdens. But we will submit comments to that and make ourselves available to any committee members that have questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line. If we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 204.
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 204, please press star 9 to join the queue. Caller ending in 031, please press star 6 to unmute yourself and begin.
Thank you. My name is David Reed, R-E-I-D. I'm General Counsel with the Receivables Management Association International. We are still reviewing the substantial amendments that were just released earlier today on this bill. We were in support of the bill, but at a quick reading, we have to unfortunately go to opposition on this bill. And I understand this is a policy committee, or not a policy committee, this is a fiscal committee, so I will not get into the policy implications. But on the fiscal implications, it will result in substantial losses to the banking and financial services industry, and will have implications for Nevada consumers on the availability of credit that is extended to them. So from that fiscal standpoint, I would urge an opposition, but obviously we'll be more than happy to continue dialogue with the sponsor, because we certainly would like to get back into a supporting position. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers to provide opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 204? Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City, and not seeing anyone go to the table in Las Vegas. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide neutral testimony on AB 204?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 204, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Caller ending in 000, you are unmuted. Please begin when ready.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. This is Mary Young, Deputy Commissioner from the Financial Institutions Division, and my apologies for not being there in person, but I just wanted to confirm what the Assemblymember Carter had stated, that our fiscal note will be removed with the amendments to Section 13, as well as removing Section 18. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other callers?
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify.
Thank you. Assemblymember Carter, no closing remarks, but I'm happy that the member called in from BNI. If you could get that to us in writing so we can add it to the file, that would be very helpful. And seeing no other people for testimony, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 204. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 226, which revises provisions relating to economic development.
Thank you, Chair and Committee. I'm Erica Mosca, representing Assembly District 14 in East Las Vegas. Assembly Bill 226 ensures any company that receives a tax abatement from the state of Nevada through the Governor's Office of Economic Development, or GOED, creates a community benefits agreement to ensure they're actually giving back and helping the community around them through corporate social responsibility. The original intent of the bill was to apply this new law to all approved companies going forward, but the bill as drafted included new companies going forward and going back to previously approved companies and potentially clawing back abated money. I presented an amendment in the policy committee that clarified it would be for companies going forward, that companies had at least 2 years to submit their community benefits agreement, so they had time to actually meet with the community, talk to nonprofits in the area, and so it was an actual agreement based on the community's wants and needs. So this amendment allowed GOED to remove the fiscal note, since now the only work they have to do is make the box required on the application, because it is currently optional, and make sure that they add this as a follow-up piece that they already do with abated companies. So in summary, the fiscal note is zero, and Mr. Stephen Wood from GOED is here if you have any questions for him or me, and I thank them for working with me on this bill, and thank you, Chair and Committee, for considering.
Thank you so much. And if we do have anyone from GOED that can testify that the fiscal note that had been submitted, that was just over $2 million, has been removed, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Stephen Wood with GOED for the record. Yes, we did remove the fiscal note with the amendment, and we thank the sponsor for working with us and always being so great. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the sponsor of the bill or for GOED? As he gets up and says, oh. Not seeing any. You can leave now. All right, I'll invite you to take a seat back, and we'll invite to the table anyone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 226. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Las Vegas, or here in Carson City, and no one in Las Vegas. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 226?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Yes, this is Bob Blackstock from West Reno again. First name is B-O-B, last name is spelled Black, as in the color, stock is in the well stocked, and I'm calling in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other callers?
Here, there are no additional callers for support.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 226, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone come to the table in Carson City or in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 226?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will go to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony, I invite you to the table here in Carson City and the table in Las Vegas. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Monredo. My apologies. Good morning, Chair Monroe Monredo, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. With the removal of that fiscal note, we are neutral on the fiscal impact of this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide neutral testimony in Assembly Bill 226?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsor if you have any closing remarks, and she's shaking her head no. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 226. And we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 326, which provides for a study on the treatment of trauma. Good morning. Welcome to your first hearing in Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for this opportunity. My name is Greg Koenig, represent Assembly District 38. And I just want to go a little bit through the history of what this bill has been through. So originally in the original hearing, we presented pretty close to what it is today. And then it met some opposition, and we were forced to turn it into a study. And then between the work session where it was presented as a study to now, we were able to work with the opposition and change it back to its original state, which is now actually doing something besides the study. There were some questions with it going forward to get a hearing in the Senate. That has been worked out. In fact, the chair on the Senate side is now co-sponsoring this bill. And so what you have in front of us today is back to pretty close to the original bill with a couple of amendments. And I'm going to turn the time over to Blaine to talk about the fiscal notes, and then if we need to go over the quick amendments there.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Blaine Osborne, Nevada Rural Hospital Partners, for the record. Chair, there was one errant fiscal note submitted on AB 326 that has been revised. You'll see in Nellis there's a new revision from Clark County that indicates there's no fiscal impact. So we don't believe there's any fiscal impacts with the bill and with the conceptual amendment submitted by Assemblyman Koenig. And we're in support. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we had some discussions about this bill in my office. So with the amendment, as I'm looking at it, how would this amendment impact Clark County?
So what the amendment does is it puts a 90-mile radius around counties that have 2 or more existing trauma centers. So at this point, the only county that has 2 or more existing trauma centers would be Clark County. And so what that does is it allows all of the rural hospitals, especially up north, to be included in this, and then exactly which ones would be included in Clark County.
Yep. Chair Blaine Osborne, for the record, there will be no impact to Clark County with the conceptual amendment, and none of the critical access hospitals within 80 miles of Clark County or within Clark County would be able to become a level 4 trauma designated center.
Thank you for that. And by the amended language, it would go back to allowing rural communities to also have a level 4 trauma unit, and instead of a study, we would actually be able to provide services for constituents now.
Chair Blaine Osborne, for the record, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Members, any questions? Yes. Assemblymember Hafen.
Chair, I know it's the fiscal committee, but I do have a policy question, if that's okay.
Well, there's an amendment, so I'll allow
on the
that.
amendment. Thank you, Chair. And it's right along the lines of what you just said, and I appreciate you guys putting this in. The mile limitation is kind of new to me in statute. Normally, it's a population cap of like 700,000 for Clark County. My concern, obviously, is the Pahrump community is within that 90-mile range, and so obviously the concern would be is that they would not be potentially eligible. And so I'm just curious why the 90 miles was chosen versus just a population cap, so that the rural communities within that 90 miles could also be it could also be designated trauma 4.
Before you answer, I'm looking at the amendment, and the amendment states an 80-mile range, not 90. So if you can just clarify which one it is.
Yes, thank you, Chair Blaine Osborne, for the record. That is correct. It is an 80-mile radius, not 90. To Assemblyman Hafen, I think your question is a very good one. I think the concern and some of the opposition that we were met with on AB 326 is why the mileage limitation is there. And I think there is a concern about the Pahrump community. I think from my standpoint, we are in support of this amendment because it allows critical access hospitals in the next 2 years to be able to set up that model, working with the State Board of Health and state regulators to be able to prove the concept of trauma level 4 designations in the state. And so we would like to see, there are only a few critical access hospitals at this moment that are even able to or willing to become a level 4 trauma designation. We think that's going to be a very successful model for the state, and perhaps that's one that we will be able to come back in future legislative sessions and address once it's proven. Thank you.
Chair, if I may, I probably should just disclose that I do sit on the board of the Desert View Hospital Board in Pahrump, Nevada. So I did want to get that on the record. I apologize for not stating that first.
Thank you so much for making this statement. Members, any other questions on the amendment, the change of this bill? It's been through a lot. I appreciate you working with all the entities and the stakeholders in the meetings that you had with me, and hearing that I didn't feel a study was what we needed. If we're going to be here and do the work for the people, let's do the work for the people. We know that there's a need. We don't need to study it. All right. Not seeing any other questions, I'll invite you to take a step back, and we will open it up for testimony in support on Assembly Bill 326. Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go to our phone lines. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 326?
To provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 326, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for support.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 326? Not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We'll go back to our phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 326?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 326, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will go to neutral. Is there anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 326? And not seeing anyone come to the table here in Carson City or at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines for one last time. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide neutral testimony on AB 326?
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 326, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsors if they have any closing remarks, and they're shaking their head no. So we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 326, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 414, which revises provisions relating to occupational safety and health, and invite Assembly Member Moore. Good morning and welcome to WAYS.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Cynthia Moore, representing Assembly District 11 in East Las Vegas. I am presenting Assembly Bill 414, which addresses air quality issues in the workplace. Protecting Nevada workers from poor air quality is essential for occupational health and safety, especially in industries like manufacturing. When workers are exposed to greenhouse gases, other gases, and poor air quality, it can impair cognitive function, coordination, and decision making, leading to lower efficiency, increased error rates, and being absent from work. Chair Monroe Moreno, of relevance to this committee, certain state agencies would be impacted by the provisions of this bill, and they have submitted fiscal notes. After working with these agencies, I'm proposing to add 8 state agencies to the list of employers who are exempt from the requirements of the bill, which already includes law enforcement, firefighting, or otherwise responding to emergencies, solid waste management, or the management of hazardous waste, and towing services. By exempting state agencies from the provisions of this bill, there will no longer be a fiscal impact on agencies. And there is one fiscal note that I was unable to remove, and I believe that Tori Carrion, administrator with the Department of Business and Industry, is in Las Vegas, and she can explain what their fiscal note is.
Thank you so much. So there was a fiscal note from the Department of Agriculture. Has that fiscal note been removed? It was a one-time purchase of supplies to keep employees safe during heat, and that's been removed because of the amendment of the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, the bill no longer addresses heat mitigation.
Okay. And then the fiscal note from the Department of Transportation, has that fiscal note been removed?
Yes, and I have forwarded that email chain.
Okay. And the Department of Tourism and Cultural Affairs had a fiscal note. That one has also been removed?
Yes, that has also been removed.
Okay. And that takes me to the Department of Business and Industry. Good morning and welcome to WAYS.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Victoria Carrion for the record. I'm the administrator of the Division of Industrial Relations. So we do have a small fiscal note of $69,384 for this bill, and that is related to equipment and training that would be needed for our OSHA staff and our safety consultation and training section staff to actually enforce this measure and ensure that employers are adequately monitoring and performing all of the requirements that are in this bill. I do want to note that our agency is funded by the Workers' Compensation Safety Assessment, and that is a assessment on workers' compensation insurers and is not funded by the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that $69,384, is that just in FY26 or would that be an ongoing dollar amount?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Victoria Carrion. So that is a one-time cost in FY26 just for equipment and training. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here today to testify on your fiscal note. There was one last fiscal note on the original bill as presented from the Department of Administration for purchasing. Has that fiscal note also been removed?
I have reached out to them, but I haven't heard back from them. I can follow up with them.
Looks like you have a phone a friend coming to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. I am the new Purchasing Administrator, William Taylor. For the record, WILLIAMTAYLOR. I'm just getting into the loop on this one, and after consulting with my team and the director this morning, I'm appearing that to say per Amendment 477, and the changes to Section 3 are fiscal note. ID 9045 is hereby withdrawn.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on the new position, and welcome to WAYS. All right. Well, thank you for the presentation and the information on the removal of the fiscal notes. And I'll ask you to take a step back to the seats and invite anyone to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 414. And I'm so sorry. You're going to have to come back. I totally forgot to ask the other members if they had any questions, and we do. Assembly Member Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate bringing them back. So this is about the amendment. You mentioned this is about protecting Nevada workers. So I'm wondering why we aren't protecting state employees like we are protecting private sector employees.
Madam Chair, if I may go direct. Assemblyperson Dickman, wonderful to see you this morning. Members of the committee, for the record, Thomas Morley, THOMASMORLEY, representing Teamsters Local 631. We have not had any complaints out of state agencies or local government agencies. Their safety programs are well above the standards that we're searching and trying to accomplish here. I can say that the targeted areas are going to be in the light manufacturing industry, as well as warehousing, and as well as paint auto body shops, things of that nature, as well as convention centers. So this would cover everything over 10,000 square foot, but we believe that the state is doing a fine job with their safety program as is. And this was not addressed during the interim and the new OSHA regulations, and we saw that there was a gap protecting these indoor workers and their exposure to dangerous greenhouse gases. So therefore, I met with the assembly person during the election cycle, and she agreed to carry this bill. So any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Now you can take a step back. And we'll invite to the tables here in Carson City and in Las Vegas anyone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 414.
Keeping it short, in support, Thomas Morley, Laborers Local 872, Laborers Local 169, Communication Workers of America, and Teamsters 631 in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager on behalf of the Sierra Club. For the record, I'll also be short. We believe this is a great investment for the state to make in the safety of our workers right here in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Go ahead and turn your mic on. There you go.
Good morning. Thank you for listening this morning to me. My name is Astrid Martinez. I'm organizer with CHISPA program from LCV. So I am here to support 414 because these workers need support from you guys. I am representing a lot of Latinos who work in the warehouses, loading and unloading. Last year, I have a friend who told me it's very cold in the winter and it's very hot in the summer to work in those warehouses. And then this is the only places they can be able to work in these times. So please, I am like in the name of the Latino community who work in the warehouses, I am here standing up for them and I'm talking to you guys, and please hear them. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Cyrus Ojati, Hojjaty. I personally don't have a lot of experience working in these conditions, but I could imagine it's a very important bill. I'm glad the sponsor has introduced this bill. I looked through it. There wasn't much opposition or anything that I could find that would be harsh to the business community or business climate. So we urge you all to support this. And summers are very important. And if they can work, then we can't get the productivity. Just because a bill is worker friendly doesn't mean it's anti-business. Because you need the productivity to produce things. And so, yeah, as history has shown us. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone lines. Do we have anyone on the phone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 414?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 414, please press star 9 to take your place. Chair, we have no callers for support testimony.
Thank you so much. Then we'll move to opposition. Do we have anyone here in Carson City or Las Vegas that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 414? I invite you to the tables. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Brian Walker, Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. We understand the amendment removes the fiscal note from state government. However, we are very concerned about the additional fiscal note on local governments and the taxpayer responsibility for that, and the fiscal note increase to Nevada businesses that will raise taxes. We look forward to working on the bill further in the Senate.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Paul Murak from the Vegas Chambers. Chambers still oppose to AB 414, and we echo the comments made by Mr. Walker from the Retail Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll keep this easy. I'm Paul Enos with the Nevada Trucking Association and the Nevada Manufacturers Association. Echo the comments of Mr. Walker and Mr. Muradkin in opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else come to the table here in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone line. Do we have anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 414?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 414, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Carrie Kramer here on behalf of NAOP, and for the reasons previously stated, we are also in opposition to AB 414. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. Then we will close opposition and move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 414, I invite you to the tables. And not seeing anyone come to the table, we'll go to the phone line for one last time. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 414?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 414, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. Then we'll ask the sponsors if you have any closing remarks, and they're shaking their head no. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 414. All right, moving on to our next bill, Assembly Bill 160, which creates the Nevada Ireland Trade Commission. And we'll invite the sponsors of the bill to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno, Vice Chair Backus, members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. My name is Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9 down in Southwest Las Vegas, and I'm pleased to be here at the table with my colleague, Assembly Member O'Neill. As you can see, we are co-sponsors on this bill. The bill itself is fairly simple, and I won't go through the policy, but it essentially creates a Nevada Ireland Trade Commission within the Governor's Office of Economic Development. If you are interested, Section 5 of the bill lists the duties of the commission. I won't go through those because I know the reason that we're here is the fiscal note. And we have a fiscal note from GOED that is comprised of two different parts. One part of it is the staffing of the board actually meeting, and the other part was the potential funding of trade missions to Ireland. I would just note that the bill does not require trade missions to actually take place, and would note for the record that in every other state where this is passed, which I believe is perhaps in the 20s now, private funding has been provided for the work of the commission. This bill does allow the commission to accept private funding, and that is in Section 6 of the bill. It essentially allows them to accept gifts and grants. In talking to the Governor's Office of Economic Development, I think they are fairly comfortable removing the fiscal note, given that, one, trade missions aren't required, and two, we would likely get private funding. Chair, I want to let you know I did just about 20 minutes ago, forward an email to you because I'm not sure if I had forwarded you the email from the Governor's Office of Economic Development stating that, and they are also here to answer any questions that you might have. But I believe that would take us down to a 0 fiscal note or at worst a $6,000 fiscal note to be able to staff the required board meetings. And with that, I'm not sure if Assemblymember O'Neill wants to add anything. I don't think so, so we would be available to answer any questions the commission might have, or I'm sorry, the committee might have.
Thank you so much. I am going to ask the GOED representative if you can come to the table and speak to the fiscal note. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Stephen Wood with GOED for the record. Like the speaker mentioned, after our discussions and further understanding of the bill that happened after we submitted the fiscal note, we are now comfortable and we believe that there would be 0 fiscal impact to our agency. I've had some conversations, Mr. Speaker, since the last time we talked about 20 minutes ago, and we're comfortable. The minor costs that the speaker mentioned that might still exist, we're comfortable in our ability to absorb those with what's outlined in the bill. So after the discussions with the speaker, and we thank him for those, we are comfortable with moving to a 0 fiscal impact.
I appreciate that. Now, don't come back in IFC and say, you know, we thought we were comfortable. We're a little uncomfortable because you're not getting it. Okay?
Stephen Wood for the
All
record.
right.
No, ma'am, I'm sure I'll see you in IFC for other reasons.
All right. All right. Members, any other questions? Yes, Assemblymember Dickman.
I'm not sure if it's an appropriate question, but when this goes to the other side, could you amend me onto the bill? I'm enough Irish. And my very favorite knitting designer is Irish, and she does a lot of business with us in the U.S.
Steve Yeager for the record. I think the other house has a different procedure for amending folks onto bills, and I think it's perhaps a little easier over there. So I would just say anybody on this committee or anybody listening, if this bill passes out of the Assembly and goes over to the Senate, if you'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, just let me know and we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much for the presentation. And go ahead, thank you for being here to speak to your fiscal note. I'll ask you all to take a step back, and we will invite to the table anyone that's here to testify in support on Assembly Bill 160.
Good morning, Chairman Roman Moreno, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. We're here in support of this bill. Even if there were to remain a small, meager fiscal note, we believe that the economic upside would far outweigh that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else here at the table in Carson City or at the table in Las Vegas, we'll go to our phone lines. Do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 160?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 160, please press star 9 to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much, and we will move to opposition. If there's anyone that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 160, I invite you to the table, both here in Carson City and in Las Vegas. And not seeing anyone come to the table, we'll go to the phone line. Do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to provide testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 160?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 160, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much, and we will close opposition and move to neutral. If there's anyone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 160, I invite you to the table here in Las Vegas, here in Carson City, and the table in Las Vegas. Not seeing anyone come to the tables, we'll go to the phone lines for one last time.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 160, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral.
Thank you so much. We'll ask the sponsors if they have any closing remarks. Okay, they're both shaking their head no. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 160. And we are going to take a 10-minute recess before we hear our final bill. That bill will be a policy and fiscal hearing, and it may be a little long. So 10-minute recess, and we'll be right back. Thank you for your patience for the recess, and we will bring the meeting back to order. And members, as I had said, most of the bills that we hear are just the fiscal. However, this bill did not have a policy hearing. So today we will be hearing the policy and the fiscal part of this bill. I will be limiting testimony on the bill to 30 minutes in support, 30 minutes in opposition, and 30 minutes in neutral. And I'll remind anyone who does want to testify to keep your comments to just 2 minutes and to make sure you state and spell your name for the record. So I am going to invite to the table Speaker Yeager and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 398. Good morning again.
Good morning, Chair Monroe Moreno, Vice Chair Backus, and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. I am Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9, which is in Southwest Las Vegas, and it is an honor to present Assembly Bill 398 to you today in conceptual amendment form, which you should all have in front of you. Chair, I want to thank you and the committee for your patience. As you noted, this is the policy hearing on this bill. It's taken us quite a while to try to get this bill to a place where we think it works, and so that's why we are here so late in session, but we think we have something worthy of discussion and consideration by this committee. With me at the table is John Velardita, who's Executive Director of the Clark County Education Association. After I tell you a little bit about the motivation behind the bill and what we are trying to achieve, I'm going to hand it over to him to share some of the data underpinning this concept and why we believe this is going to make a significant difference in filling teacher vacancies. Chair, with your permission, I did want to point out to the members that you all should be in possession of this conceptual amendment. This is really the document you want to be working off of, and I'll reference that document. There are some portions of the bill that will remain the same, but there are a lot of changes that have been put into it, and obviously we'll get this into an actual amendment form at some point. Before I talk about the hard-to-fill positions part of Assembly Bill 398, I want to talk about charter school pay raises. All of you sat through the last couple weeks of budget hearings when we had to decide what we were going to do with the governor's proposal related to charter school pay raises. And I think I was clear, as was the Senate Majority Leader, that figuring out how to do that this session was critical to us. But we wanted to make sure it was done in a way that was transparent, that was accountable, and that followed the same process as the other 17 school districts last legislative session through the Senate Bill 231 process, where they came to IFC to present their request. And so I have, as part of my conceptual amendment on Assembly Bill 398, basically setting up the same process we went through with Senate Bill 231 last session for our charter school teachers and education support professionals. So you will see in the bottom part of the conceptual amendment, there is an appropriation made in each fiscal year of approximately $19.3 million, and that appropriation would be to the Interim Finance Committee for allocation to charter schools to supplement the salary and compensation of teachers and education support professionals. Chair, you may remember, and committee members may remember, I know it's been quite some time, but when we had the budget closing on the education budget, if you still have that document, it was on page 41 was the decision point, and that's where the $19.3 million comes from, which actually is more money than was proposed by the governor, because what we realized is in counting our education support professionals and teachers at charter schools, that number given to us originally neglected to count charter schools that are sponsored by the school districts. So I believe that $19.3 million in each fiscal year is the maximum number, the maximum amount of money that would be needed to make sure that every charter school teacher and education support professional is able to benefit from the same kind of pay raises we gave to our traditional public schools. Obviously, they're going to have to come before us and talk about what the plan is. We would have to approve that through IFC, but I think that's an important step because we should ask the same of them that we ask of the traditional public schools. And then I think the question is, well, what happens the next legislative session? Well, it would be up to the governor to decide whether to put that in his budget. As you all know, we approved the continuation of the $250 million for traditional public schools, and we did that by a categorical program within the Department of Education's other state education other state education program budgets. So I'd anticipate that money would go into there, but right now we don't know if all this money is going to be needed. We know there are potentially vacancies, so I just wanted to make that clear, and I think I committed to this committee, I committed to all of you that we would work on this issue. I committed that to the governor, and this is a solution to that issue. And I think, it is obviously time that we recognize our charter school teachers and education support professionals and the good work that they do every single day in educating Nevada's future leaders. So I'm proud that that's in here, and at the appropriate time I can answer any questions about how that will look. But any of you who were on IFC last session, you know full well how that process worked because we sat through all kinds of meetings on it. So Chair, that is the one of the big conceptual amendments. And then let me get to sort of the heart of what Assembly Bill 398 does.
Before moving on to the other parts of it, Speaker Yeager, I want to thank you for adding this to your bill. I am the mother of a teacher and wife of an educator, and a teacher's a teacher. I don't care what school they're teaching at. And so to make sure that all teachers are included, it was the intention of this body, and definitely as a fiscal leader of this House, our intention. So thank you for including it.
Thank you, Chair. Steve Yeager for the record. And, to your point, one of the reasons we did the IFC process for the SB 231 money was because we wanted to make sure that it worked, right? We wanted to have some control over that rather than just doling the money out and hoping it worked. And I think what we realized as a legislature is it did work. Many teachers and education support professionals across the state were able to receive upwards of a 20% raise. We saw better retention and recruitment. And so I think that was an important first step, right? And so here we are making sure that we got it right last session, and there's no reason we can't include charter schools in that. So thank you for your comments, Chair, and thank you to the committee for your patience as we worked through that issue. So let me get to Assembly Bill 398, what that bill does. This bill directly addresses what I believe to be one of the most significant and crucial challenges facing our schools, and that is teacher shortages in hard-to-fill positions. We know that too many of our schools and critical subject areas are struggling to attract and retain talented teachers. This bill provides a targeted solution, offering additional compensation to the educators who step up and teach where they are needed most in some of the most challenging environments. We know, without a doubt, that having a qualified educator in every classroom is crucial to educational achievement. Without that, if we're being honest, we may never achieve the results that we all desire and expect of our public education system. And I know all of you can think back to your time in education. There's always a teacher that you remember, a teacher who inspired you, a teacher who drove you to want to learn, to try harder, to work harder, a teacher who saw value in you that you didn't even see in yourself. That's not going to happen if we don't have teachers in every classroom. So that is what this bill is trying to achieve. As I mentioned, Chair, I'll be working through the conceptual amendment that I provided to the committee. So let me take you through the mechanics of the bill and the proposed amendment. First, the bill provides a mechanism outside of the state education fund to provide money to school districts to provide additional funding for hard-to-fill positions. So this is not going into the base per pupil funding. This is going to essentially be a mechanism outside of that funding. Now, the bill itself does define hard-to-fill positions, and that is a portion of the bill that still remains. And if you're interested in looking at that, you'd be looking at page 3 of the bill, right around line 21, which is that subsection 6 of section 2. And I think it's important to read this for the record. As used in this section, a hard-to-fill position means a teacher position at a Title I school which has 1, a vacancy rate for teacher positions of 15% or more if we were talking about a high school, 2, a vacancy rate for teacher positions of 12% or more if the school is a middle school or junior high school, 3, a vacancy rate for teacher positions of 10% or more if the school is an elementary school, and then a teacher position or other position staffed by a person licensed under Chapter 391 of the NRS who is a teacher of record assigned to a classroom and whose duties include actively teaching pupils during a class period for the majority of class periods during the school day in English language arts, mathematics, science, or special education. So I want to note that this does bring in special education professionals as well if such subjects are suffering from a critical labor shortage as determined by the Board of Trustees of the school district. So that is the definition of who would qualify under this bill. This program would be run through the Interim Finance Committee and would then go, the monies would then go to the Department of Education for distribution to the school districts. The school districts would need to report to IFC the number of hard-to-fill positions by June 4th of each year, which is right around the end of session and normally a couple of weeks before that first IFC meeting that happens after the legislative session, and the amount of money which the district would be seeking to provide for such positions. Money would be distributed when a hard-to-fill position is filled. It would be subject to collective bargaining, and any money not spent would revert to the general fund. This would be one-time funding, but there is a requirement in the bill that the governor include an appropriation for this program to the extent practicable in each fiscal year in the future. Now, for this biennium, the proposal in the bill is to fund this program at the rate of $45 million each fiscal year for a total of $90 million. And the proposal in this bill would be to fund from a transfer of the state's rainy day fund, whose balance sits at approximately $1.3 billion. Now, I'm going to acknowledge right away that asking for a transfer out of the state's rainy day fund is a serious request, and I believe one that is probably going to cause members of this committee and others some concern and some discontent. Well, let me tell you why I'm proposing it. I do think that it is accurate to say that it is already raining and has been raining when it comes to filling hard-to-fill positions. And if we are being honest with ourselves, things are only likely to get worse when it comes to education and education funding, given what's happening at the federal level at the moment. So I believe that this is a good use of the funds. However, I know there will be some concerns, and I am committed to working with all of you, with our colleagues in the Senate, and with the governor to figure out what is the appropriate funding source for this program, because I believe it is a critical program that needs to be funded. And so ultimately, if that ends up being some source other than the rainy day fund, I would love to have those conversations. But today I bring to you this as a proposal, given where we are with a very difficult budget situation that we have in the state. So back to the $90 million. How did we get to $90 million? Essentially, this is based on the best estimate of how much money it would take to provide roughly $5,000 of additional pay for hard-to-fill positions statewide. This is based on a recent snapshot of the Clark County School District that showed approximately 5,200 hard-to-fill Title I positions and 1,900 special education vacancies for a total of about 7,100 vacancies. At $5,000 each fiscal year, this amounts to a total of right around $71.6 million. Then we did a little bit of math and multiplied that by 1.25 to approximate the cost for the rest of the state, and that got us to around $90 million. Obviously, we're not going to know exactly how many positions there are until after the legislative session when we get that data on June 4th, but I think this is a very good approximation that would allow for the distribution of approximately $5,000 per fiscal year if those positions can be filled. And I will tell you, Chair, just in the interest of disclosure, because I've been asked this, I have made the decision not to include charter schools or education support professionals within the parameters of this bill when it comes to the hard-to-fill concepts. Were our financial situation better, I might have made a different decision, and a future legislature can always decide to include them, but I didn't believe it would be fiscally responsible for me to include them now, and I don't want to spread the funding too thin so that it doesn't work and achieve the objectives of actually filling these hard-to-fill positions. Now, I'll acknowledge that you may hear some opposition because of that, but I sure hope we're not in a situation where we have folks opposing a bill they otherwise like simply because they aren't included in it, especially since they may be in the future. And think about the charter schools teacher pay raises from last year. Here we are making good on that commitment one session later. Chair, I know there's a fiscal impact to this as well, so I want to inform you that the Department of Education has placed a fiscal note on the bill. I was going to go through that and ask that that fiscal note be funded, and that was in the conceptual amendment. I had a conversation with the Department of Education just about 20 minutes ago, and they informed me that they would be removing their fiscal note because due to the way that the budget closed for them, they think they would be able to absorb this work without any additional positions or any additional money, and I think they'll be willing to come to the table and say that, so I'm obviously appreciative of that. It's always nice to get good news right before your hearing instead of getting bad news. So, Chair, I would no longer be requesting that appropriation of $127,489 over the biennium. So, Chair, with your permission, I would like to hand this presentation over to Mr. Valardita from the Clark County Education Association, because I believe he can tell you, based on past history of the Clark County School District and the Clark County Education Association, what this money would mean in the real world and why it would be effective.
Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of this committee. John Bellardita. I'm the Executive Director of the Clark County Education Association. I just want to put this into context. For the last several years, anywhere from 20 to 30,000 students in the Clark County School District start the school year and end the school year without a qualified teacher in their classroom. It's a combination of filling those classrooms with substitutes or doubling up or whatever. Most of those kids are in Title I schools. When we entered the 2023 school year, 92% of all the vacancies were in Title I schools. That's over 200 some odd schools. Half of those schools, a little more than half, 115 of those schools were Star 1 and 2 schools. There's a correlation to a teacher not in a classroom to systemically underperforming and low proficiency rates. That's the background. We started the school year in 2023 with about 1,500 to 1,700 vacancies. Most of them, as I said, 92% were in Title I schools. I want to say this. What this body did in the last session, moving a significant amount of money, did two things. One, we were able to improve our salary schedule where it became very competitive with the Western United States in terms of its entry level and its top pay, almost $60,000 up to $132,000. Most of the areas that we compete for jobs are in the Western United States. That's really critical. That money that you guys allocated allowed us to increase that salary schedule as well as give significant raises, 22% each educator received, to retain. We never used a penny of SB 231. We used the money that you allocated out of the education budget. We used SB 231 specifically to target what I just talked about, the vacancies. And for us, it was a discussion first and foremost, should we acknowledge that these classrooms have different challenges than the rest of the classrooms, particularly in the urban core? And we landed on yes. And we surveyed our members. And we wanted to determine what could happen to attract and retain educators to go to these schools, as well as any incoming new educators that the district was going to hire. And so what we did with the SB 231 dollars is we said, okay, we will give $5,000 for every educator that is in a Title I school that has a 5% or more vacancy. Over 11,500 educators were eligible for that, for the 200 some odd schools. And they had to remain there. On top of that, we had high vacancies in special education. We had over 300 vacancies to start the 23 school year in special education. And most of them were in these Title I schools that had high vacancies. And we said we will pay an additional $5,000, self-contained and non-self-contained special ed teacher. And on top of that, if they're in a Title I school, they would get $5,000 for being in that Title I school, $10,000. Now, we were working with a finite amount of money based on what 231 was, and we had no idea what and how many educators would participate in this program. And in the end, over 14,000 educators were compensated additionally, not with a bonus payment, but on their base pay with this additional money. And it has just recently ran out. So the question is, was it successful? So where we started the school year, as I said, with approximately 1,400 vacancies, 92% of them in these Title I schools, we reduced those vacancies by 53%. Unprecedented in Clark County School District to see that kind of turnaround. And more important, with our special ed, our most neediest kids, we reduced the vacancies by 84% with that additional compensation. Now, we expect that to continue, but we don't expect that to continue if we don't have additional compensation for these educators. We don't know. So this, in our opinion, is one of the most successful efforts that this legislative body made in terms of its investment in education, where we tried to put a qualified teacher in every classroom. And if you look at this PowerPoint that was presented to you, you can see the correlation with proficiency levels, etc. But more important, there's one particular slide I'll just point out to you in terms of what it has done for some more challenging schools. So to give you an example, at the elementary school level, Title I school, one of the schools, star rating, lowest proficiency, her elementary school, had 19 vacancies. After the additional compensation, we reduced it to 8. Deering Elementary had 13, we reduced it to 2. Keller Elementary had 10, we reduced it to 0. Craig Elementary, 19, we reduced it to 9. Going to middle schools, Cashman had 25 vacancies going into the school year. We reduced it to 9. Harney Middle School, again, all of these are one-star schools. 21 vacancies, we reduced it to 9. I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see it on the slide. I'm going to go to the high schools. Chaparral High School, 2-star school, 35 vacancies. We reduced it just down to 10. Western High School in particular was 24 vacancies. On this slide, it was reduced to 6, but actually, we took this snapshot in March, and their numbers have been reduced down to 2 vacancies. So this works in terms of the additional compensation. And so this differential pay, which we don't think obviously should be a bonus, but should be built into the base pay, for it to be successful, for us to see the next level of improvement, and that's at proficiency levels, we would argue needs to continue. And so we've changed the threshold. It was a simple 5% to 10%, 12%, and 15% for elementary, middle, and high school. That's going to be a test. We're going to determine as to where the experience level is. But we have a baseline that we've established. And it's also based on how much money is available. And as the speaker said, this is going to be a request that you all are going to make decisions on, as well as the governor, right? But we believe that those thresholds of 10 and 12 and 15% are going to hit the hardest, most vacant positions in the urban core. It's a much more surgical approach. So what does this mean moving forward? This program, if we can't get additional funding, I think we'll take a step back. And as the speaker said before, this is designed to ensure there is an educator in every classroom. This is not designed to, are there other people lining up? Hey, me too. Could you put me in the bill because I'd like some more? At the expense of trying to fill these schools with an educator. That's what this is designed to do. And so in closing, what I'd like to share with you all is we are very appreciative of the investment that was made last time. It was significant by this body, both in the allocation to the education budget as well as to SB 231. It has made a difference down in Clark. And, we're asking for this to continue.
And Chair, if I could, Steve Yeager, for the record, I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Obviously, Mr. Velardita is talking about Clark County. That's where the Clark County Education Association is. That's where the experience is, and that's how they chose to use SB 231 money. As far as I know, no other school district chose to use the funds in that way, but we've purposely had this bill include the entirety of the state, all 17 school districts. So I don't want to give the illusion that this is just for Clark County. It's going to help Washoe County. It's going to help our 15 other school districts. That's how we got to that ultimate number. If it had just been for Clark, I would have been here talking about $71 million, but it's $90 million because we think 19 is the amount that would help the rest of the state. So we think these results that were achievable in Clark would be achievable in Washoe County and all of our other school districts in the state. So I wanted to make that clear. And as Mr. Velardita noted, there is a PowerPoint. It is on Nellis. I think you have the slides, but I was very mindful of the chair's direction not to go through PowerPoints in this committee. So we did not go through it, but it is on Nellis for your review and anyone in the public who might want to see that data. Because it's one thing to hear it, but if you are a visual learner, I would encourage you to look at that PowerPoint because you'll see the results that happened in Clark County. And I think that that can be brought to everywhere in the state. And just in closing, Chair, before questions, I mean, again, we're coming back to this idea that we can do all kinds of things for public education, and we have, and we're continuing to do those. But if we don't have a qualified teacher, I fear that all of that's going to be for naught. I mean, a qualified teacher is the number one factor that makes a difference in educational success and educational attainment. And so hopefully all of you can see the wisdom in trying to do this and helping our students be successful for the future. And with that, Chair, I just thank the committee tremendously for your time and letting us present this concept, and we would be open for any questions that the committee members have.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And we do have a number of members with questions, but can we go back to the 10, 12, and 15% that you mentioned? Is that the percentage that would go to the different grade levels, the teachers in those different grade levels? Could you just go into a little deeper dive on that?
John Velardita, for the record. Madam Chair, 10% for elementary, 12% for middle, 15% for high school vacancy rates.
Perfect. I thought that's what you meant, but I wanted to make sure that I understood it clearly. Okay, we are going to start with questions, and we'll start with Assembly Member Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I greatly appreciate it. As a high school educator, I really do appreciate the work that we've done as a legislative body, not just for me, but also for many of my colleagues. In particular, the other licensed education personnel, the counselors, especially I'm at a bubble school, so I'm not quite at a Title I school in Washoe County. Would this include the counselors, the speech language pathologist, some of the other individuals who are still licensed, who are many times under the umbrella of the Teachers Association, and so are sometimes used in that same contract, or would that be in a different area?
John Velardita, to the record, to Assemblyperson Anderson. When we had the 5%, we did have other licensed professionals who were assigned full-time to these schools that would receive that additional pay. The way the language is written now, the threshold is higher. If you read the definition of teacher, it says the majority of time, right, spent with students, etc. So we envision that there are critical other licensed professionals that would be incorporated into this.
Thank you so much for that clarification, because so often our counselors are incredibly important to our Title I middle school and high schools, and are spending 85% of their time with students. And so I greatly appreciate it. But I also want to make sure that administrators are also sometimes spending that much time as well. Is that also in this area? Because you've got some administrators sometimes that would be possibly considered to be utilizing that same time frame, even though there's a large amount of their paperwork that are away from the school time. I don't know if I'm making that question clear or not.
Well, I have a short answer.
I like that.
I think they make enough money now, John Velardita, for the record, so they're not included.
I appreciate that answer. Thank you. And then the last question, if I may. Go ahead. Thank you. You did clarify that this did not include our support professionals, such as our education aides that are many times a one-to-one aid for a special education student in particular. Their time is also utilized 100% with the student. However, that is not included in this language. Am I understanding that correctly? It's because their license is different, is what I'm understanding.
Steve Yeager, for the record. Assembly member, you're correct. They are not included in this bill. And, it's not that I didn't want to include them and perhaps a whole host of other folks, but I think realizing the situation we're in budget-wise, much like we did with SB 231 last session, I think this was a very good place to start. Doesn't mean it can't be built on in the future, but given the budget constraints, we're limiting it. Those folks are not included in the bill as it is presented to you today.
Thank you. Assembly Member Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I definitely think it's important that we give incentives to teachers that are working in these Title I schools. I know that they have high numbers of vacancies, and I know the impact that that can have on our students. My question is about the amendment in regards to number 6 in the amendment, where it is allocating the funds to IFC to then allocate to the charter schools. Can you explain exactly what that process would look like? So what would the charter schools be required to do in order to receive these funds? And then what does it look like for IFC? I guess my concern would be that we have over 60 charter schools in the state, and that each of these schools then is going to come to IFC to do a presentation. And to me, that I'm not sure if that makes sense, because the SPCSA does operate like a district, so I'm just trying to understand what that looks like.
Steve Yeager, for the record, a very good question, and one we've been kind of working through. I don't envision a scenario where every single charter school would come in front of the IFC individually. I think the chair would probably kill me, and so would all of you. And, if we're being honest, if you're running a charter school, you got to be running a charter school. You don't have time to come sit in IFC hearings. That's not the best use of your time. So I do envision a scenario where we would run that through the I'm going to get the acronym wrong, the State Public Charter School Authority. And then obviously there are charter schools that are sponsored by the district. So I think we would hear from, whoever it is appropriate at the district. But what that process would look like is much like we did with SB 231. I mean, they're going to have to come in front of us and give us a count of here are the number of professionals, educators that we have, here are the number of education support professionals, and here's our proposal for like what we want to do with their compensation, right? Because we made very clear in SB 231 that we wanted this to be ongoing, right? It wasn't just going to be bonus money. It needed to actually be in the base salary. So I anticipate that same process would happen. And as you all remember, some of those school districts were very simple, right? They came and they presented and we approved it. Some of them we said, we don't really think we have adequate information, or we're not really sure. And so we asked them to come back another time. So I thought it was important for us, just to have that process in place. Because I think, in my conversations with charter schools, they obviously acknowledge that they are public schools and they're public school teachers. And I think we all have a desire to make sure that they're being treated similarly to our traditional public education schools. So that gives us a chance at accountability and transparency.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then I think the original SB 231 did require match dollars. So would those be matched? Would there still be that requirement? What would that look like? Would that be a requirement of the SPCSA?
Steve Yeager, for the record, I do envision that would be a requirement. I'm willing to sort of talk about that, but we did want our traditional school districts to put some skin into the game, right? So it wasn't just the state coming in and giving money. So, we can continue to have some of those conversations, but I do want to see that commitment on both sides of the equation, right? On the public charter school side and the state side, to be able to make sure that we can come together and provide adequate compensation.
Thank you. Assembly Member Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for this presentation. First, I want to say thank you so much for the charter school teachers raise, because I think you could tell I was skeptical. So I apologize for doubting you, and thank you. But also I wanted to say, as you put it, the surgical approach seems to really work. And so I'm hoping that the other districts will, I realize that it's more critical in some areas of Clark County, but I think there are many in Washoe as well that could benefit from looking at that and following that model. So I know that's not your job, you're Clark County, but I hope you would pass that information on to them and advise them perhaps. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Steve Yeager for the record. Good point, and I think I'm sure Mr. Velardito would be happy to consult with anyone who's interested in this program. And I think we as elected officials, I mean, I guess most of the school districts, the majority of the school districts are represented by just one or two of us because of the way the state is laid out. But I think it's on us too to make sure you're reaching out to the school districts that are in your district to tell them about this program, and hopefully it will satisfy that, right? I know there are challenges in rural areas to get folks who want to live there and want to teach there, and we're hoping that this differential pay will help there as well.
Assemblymember Hafen.
Thank you, Chair. And first and foremost, I want to echo the Chair's thanks and appreciation for all the work that's gone into this. I know there's been numerous conversations, Mr. Speaker, between you and I and other interested individuals. I won't mention names or details, but I greatly appreciate you bringing this forward with this conceptual amendment. I know there are still additional details to be worked out. We've just this morning been speaking on, the funding mechanism. Some of our colleagues have mentioned how this will work with the charter schools, and I do want to continue those conversations because I do think that we are headed in the right direction for this state with, I'll call it both, even though it's one bill, but both proposals here, super important. And then if I may, Madam Chair, I do want to thank you for also saying that all 60 charter schools do not have to come with a 70-page PowerPoint presentation, because we will be here for 2 weeks in IFC. So
You don't want that meeting?
I don't want the 2 weeks of meetings, and so I just want to say thank you. And I think the Chair will also echo those thanks as well. Just sincere appreciation to you and everybody that has been putting the work in on this. I know there's more to go, but great appreciation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chair.
Steve Yeager for the record. Happy to continue to have conversations. I think, how many days do we have left? Does anyone know? 16, 17, 18, something like that. So happy to have those conversations. And, to your point about the charter schools, we don't want to make this overly burdensome. We just do want some transparency and accountability like we had with our 17 traditional public schools. And I will note, I believe, after the session, the Chair of Ways and Means is going to flip houses. So it's not just I want to make this chair happy, it's that Chair Don Loop probably would kill my bill if it required 65 plus presentations from charter schools. So, you guys know you're in the Assembly, you always got to be aware of what's going to happen in your bills in the Senate, so I want to make sure we can get it through there as well.
Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Speaker, for bringing this forward. I'm already receiving texts on concerns about the matching portion. I mean, I've got some charter schools saying that they're running on a shoestring budget as it is. If they have to match these funds, then that really makes it not available to them. And some of the concerns are, we say, well, we brought this much money forward, but we really only used this much, so they really didn't need it. But there's going to be some schools that aren't going to be able to afford the matching part and not going to be able to access those funds. If you could maybe address that.
Steve Yeager for the record. Understand those concerns, and I guess I would just note that it's conceptual in the presentation today. So, willing to still have those additional conversations. For the most part, we did require matching of public school, traditional public schools. I think there were maybe some where they looked more like bonuses. I'd have to go back and look at that, but I want to make sure that this is available to everybody. So I will continue to have those conversations, and then the bill, obviously, at some point will be an actual bill with language in it that we can all look at. So I appreciate you communicating those concerns, and would just encourage folks to reach out to talk about that.
Thank you.
Assemblymember Bacchus.
Thank you so much. I almost was going to withdraw my question, but I did have a comment. I do think it's still important. I know it's a different beast with the B side on charter schools, but I'm hoping what if it does just lean in on the charter school authority, that we're able to see it getting down to the teachers, because really the teachers' relationships are with their employer, the individual charter schools. But I do respect the fact we sat through many long hearings, and we don't want to have many more of those. But I think that was important to actually see the work that was done there. And thank you. I am the visual person up here, so it was very helpful to see the difference that this has done, and I'm hoping pending funding. And I appreciate your comments on the conceptual amendment, just in case, due to the situation we are right now with the state of our budget, and trying to be creative and putting where money's appropriate. Appreciate that. My question kind of was already answered early on, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the comments that my colleague made. You know, we did have a lot of hearings after the passing of the bill last session, but they were important hearings, right? And whether we enjoyed them all, the work that we all ran to do, we needed to do for that. If it will require more IFC meetings to make sure that the money that would be allocated in this bill goes to the teachers as it's intended to do, then we have to do that because that's where the money is supposed to go. So if it's more IFC hearings, and I'm not the chair this time, so I can say it, we just need to do it. I am a member of this fiscal team, and it may take more time away from our jobs and families and things, but it's the right thing with, you know, being good stewards of the state's money and making sure that that money goes to the educators that we intend it to go to.
Chair Steve Yeager for the record. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I don't think we'll be able to do this in one IFC meeting. I mean, just the basis of, you know, charter schools being sponsored by different entities, I think there'll be multiple meetings. And I am reminded by looking at this sign that it is unlawful to knowingly misrepresent any fact when testifying or otherwise communicating to a legislator, so I just want to say for the record, I love IFC.
Okay, with that, we're going to go to Assemblymember O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. Speaker Yeager, I've got to say, just as my colleagues have said, I greatly appreciate you working for the teacher, for the charter school teachers and the workers there. You said you would, we trusted you, and you've done. You're a man of your word, and I appreciate that greatly, as all of us do. But since we're talking about children, and I'm somehow reminded of my own children, when they'd be given something and then they'd come back with, well, how about this now, Dad? I just want to ask, since on the hard-to-fill positions that we've talked about, the special education, will the charter schools also be eligible for any of that funding or any consideration to include them in there too? Since they are a public school, they do handle special education students, the English language, et cetera, to continue that parity there.
Steve Yeager, for the record, thank you for the nice comments, Assembly Member. As contemplated right now, they would not be included in the hard-to-fill concept in the bill. And I think a couple of reasons. Number one is just the financial realities of where we are. But number two, I want to get the charter school teacher pay raises passed as well, and I think that's the first step. And I think we can come back next session and potentially look at that, as well as with the education support professionals. So, you know, rather than take an entire bite out of this apple, I wanted to start in a more targeted way. So they are not included as presented to you today.
I appreciate that, and thank you for the time. Oh, wait a minute. Chair, if I may add, I just received a text from the Carson City Chamber of Commerce. They're looking forward to lengthy IFC meetings for the businesses in town, and thank you.
Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you, Chair, and my questions have been asked and answered, but thank you for the time. I just wanted to thank CCEA. These are schools that are in my district. You know, Keller Elementary is in my district, and the support for East Las Vegas and the speaker, thank you so much, and I appreciate the inclusion of the amendment for the public charter schools. Thank you.
I have a question for you. As Mr. Valadero was speaking about how this works in Clark County and that it's provided in the base pay, is it your envision that this would be provided the same way and that that funding would be ongoing?
John Velardita for the record, Madam Chair. So the way we did it last time, it was on the base pay until the money ran out. Or if somebody left the Title I school that was entitled to that money or left the sped position, the same model would approach or be the same here, right? It would be on the base pay. If the money is, which is finite, right? And we don't know. The one thing that we do not control is how many people participate in it, right? But what we do and what we have done in this past year is we are able to monitor it month to month to month, right? So that we knew then going into March and April of this current school year where that finite money was going to run out for those educators that were qualified. So the same, at least I'm going to speak for Clark County. This is something we would negotiate with the school district. I think that they would be a willing partner as they had been in the past, but that's the kind of approach we would take.
Thank you for that. And I know that listed in this conceptual amendment is the source of funds to fund this. I'm not in agreement with the source of funds, so I will, not that I don't have enough on my plate, but I will work with you to find where we find that source of money to make this come through. I don't think we have an answer for that today. It's going to take like a few more hours, not days, because we only have a few days to get there, but I will commit to working with you to find that. Members, any other questions? Yeah, Assemblymember Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again for all the answers and presentations and everything. As I started to, I'll admit it, zone out a little bit, I started to look through the bill a little bit more. Is Section 8 still relevant of the original bill? It starts on page 12, and I'm not seeing it mentioned in the amendment, so I'm trying to figure out if it's still relevant or not. And we can always talk later about it too if you need to.
I think that's on. Steve Yeager for the record. We can talk a little bit more about it. I think my intent would still be to keep Section 8 in the bill, but let's talk a little bit more about that. So, yeah. And I apologize that we just didn't have time to get a full-blown conceptual amendment to. I know that's a little bit easier to look at, but we'll make sure that we have that obviously before we do anything out of this committee.
You're very welcome. Members, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much for the presentation. I will invite you all to step back, and I'll invite to the table those that are here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 398, and I'll remind you to state and spell your name for the record. Keep your comments to 2 minutes, and we'll do 30 minutes, as I said at the top of the hearing, 30 minutes in support, 30 minutes in opposition, and 30 minutes in neutral. And you can start. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Moreno, Vice Chair Bacchus, members of the committee. My name is Gil Lopez for the record, here with the Charter School Association of Nevada, here in support of AB 398, particularly with the proposed amendment addressing public charter school teacher pay. This is a meaningful step towards ensuring that all public educators, regardless of the school mode, are treated fairly. Public charter school teachers facing the same staffing challenges, serve Title I students, and are equally committed to Nevada's children. Thank you to the speaker for moving towards a more equitable approach to solving our teacher shortage crisis, and look forward to the continued conversations about equitable pay and also hard-to-fill positions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jenny Hunt, and I'm a 25-year-plus educator. On behalf of 200 K-6 learners at Mariposa Language and Learning Academy, a Title I school with a student body makeup of 95% Hispanic and Latino learners, 45% EL learners, and 100% free and reduced lunch learners, and 30 teachers and staff, we thank you, and we support AB 398. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your opening sentiment and your value for the profession of being a public school educator. As public charters, part of our model means we pay for things in contrast to other traditional schools, such as our facilities. It does not mean, however, that we can be treated less fairly in terms of compensation for our public school educators and staff. We greatly are relieved to see this legislation in response to the voices of your constituents across the state in the second largest public school enrollment group. As a district-sponsored charter school, I look forward to collaborating with my colleagues and presenting to you at IFC, and we would love to assist in any way to navigate the nuances of things such as the matching. The great news is many of us matched after last session with our per pupil in order to support our staff like those across the state. We look forward to the future of working together and finding hard-to-fill positions that you publicly committed here today. With this support, we are now able to appropriately compensate the heroes in our public charter school classrooms. This demonstration today of respect for our staff, our students, our board members, and our families is groundbreaking. Thank you so much, Speaker Yeager.
Hi, my name is Camilla, and I go to Mariposa. I came to the United States 5 years ago, and I love my school. Thank you for making sure our school staff are treated fairly.
Thank you for being here with us today, Camilla. That was beautiful. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, members of the committee. My name is Cyrus Hojjati, Hojjaty. Thank you for the sponsor of the bill. We appreciate. There's definitely a teacher shortage, and a lot of this is because of pay. I find it pretty disturbing. Taxi drivers, architectural drafters, limo drivers can make more than teachers, because being a teacher is not the same job as those professions I've just mentioned. I just researched the entry-level annual salary, correct me if I'm wrong, $55,000. I don't know about you, but that's not an easy, comfortable wage to live in Clark County, especially in the decent areas. And this is one of the reasons why we struggle to keep and retain teachers. It also impacts class sizes, quality of instruction, and I do believe, yes, it does have a ranking at the state level in terms of academic performance. And I'm very excited to see the charter schools are included in this proposition. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, classroom setting, teacher instruction, all those things do matter, and hopefully we'll have a bill addressing that. To be fair, I read the opposition. There was really not much of serious concerns that I found. But other than that, please vote yes. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. That's Tomclark. Here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce and also the Nevada Association of School Boards. Very much in support of Assembly Bill 398 as it's been amended, and look forward to your support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Eric Perez, Perez, Principal and Executive Director of High Desert Montessori Charter School in Reno. I'm here on behalf of my board of directors, families, staff members to advocate for a better, fair, and equal salary consideration for charter teachers. Our teachers are highly qualified, highly educated, Nevada licensed teachers who dedicate their hearts and souls to provide a Montessori education choice to families in Northern Nevada. As a charter school, we understand that we have to use our per-pupil funding to pay for our facilities and to train our teachers beyond what is expected of teachers in traditional schools. So in essence, we do more with less. Because of this, we feel that our teachers and all teachers in public charter schools in Nevada should be compensated equally. We are held in similar and in some cases higher educational standards than traditional schools and lack the economy of scale to provide services at less than premium costs. Last session, we were left out of SB 231 funds, but we did our best to match Washoe County anyway. This is what it took to keep teachers from leaving our school to make better pay at the district school that is down the road. Thank you for all your hard work in making sure that our teachers are respected and compensated on a level equal to their peers. Thank you, Speaker Yeager, and to all the members of this amazing body.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przinski here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents. We're very appreciative of the bill. Want to thank this speaker for bringing it forward and are confident it's going to help us with a hard-to-fill position. So thank you. We're in support.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair. Brad Keating for the record, representing the Clark County School District. Excited to be here today to support Assembly Bill 398. I encourage the committee, when you have a chance, to look through the PowerPoint that Speaker Yeager had. It truly shows the reason why we need to continue this programming. We've had an amazing partnership with CCEA in making sure that we bring teachers in and we are able to fill those hard to fill and the high need areas. vacancies. It's been an incredible program. We can't wait to continue moving that forward. And for the record, the Clark County School District is excited to continue meeting with you in many more IFC meetings in the future. Thank you.
Tess Opferman here on behalf of the Washoe County School District. We're in full support of this bill and the access to resources to help fill hard-to-fill positions. We do want to be part of conversations about about Section 8 at the school district. We want to be able to preserve any funding that we can use to help make sure that we're filling those hard-to-fill positions. So we'd like to be part of that conversation, but we are grateful to the speaker for bringing this bill forward, and we are in support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Nicole Rourke representing the City of Henderson. As a new sponsor of charter schools, we're grateful for the inclusion of charter school teachers in the raises, and we really are grateful to the speaker and all of you for continuing to support all public school teachers, so thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Ben Contine, C-O-N-T-I-N-E. I'm with the Honors Academy of Literature. We're a small independent charter school in downtown Reno. We're also a Title I school with over 20% of our students with an IEP, which is, I think, the highest in the state, but near the top anyway. We love our small school, our little mom and pop shop. We're not looking to take over the world. In a state with hundreds of thousands of students, we take care of 217 of them and their families. We want to be part of a tight educational ecosystem that is world-class. And to be a world-class educational system, you need to pay teachers, and you need to pay all teachers. If you're a qualified teacher in a public school teaching Nevada kids, we should be able to look them in the eye and tell them that they're going to be able to pay bills, possibly own a home someday, that they're going to be able to have a medical emergency without going bankrupt. Maybe they're going to be able to send their kids to college. I appreciate so much the efforts of this board. Speaker Yeager, I don't know. Thank you so much. It was devastating last session for our teachers. There were tears because they weren't included. Hopefully this goes a little bit towards renewing their faith. So thank you so much for all your work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I want to thank you also, and for the record, Jessica Barlow Daniels, Carson Montessori Charter School. At the last session, because we so firmly believe that our teachers deserve compensation, we had money in reserve that we were saving to build a facility because we do have to pay for our own facilities. We took that money so that we could match and give our teachers the raise that they so deserved. We are thrilled now that we will be included in this piece of legislation and they can be compensated. I do want to say one thing, though, to Mr. Ballardina, when he said that administrators are highly paid. I have firmly believed in all the years I've been in education, and I'm not going to tell you how long because you'll go, oh my Lord, she's ancient. But 30 years ago, I won a Melkin Award. We get $25,000. My husband and I had always supported education and did everything we could at no charge. I walked off that stage, handed the check to him. I never even opened the envelope. He opened it, invested all $25,000 back into my classroom. We have made a commitment since then to do it every single year. And so I have what we call a 48-hour launch. And if one of my teachers, students, needs something, including getting their master's degree, including getting extra training, we dedicate that back. So sometimes administrators do give back. I just wanted him to know that. But thank you for supporting this bill. It was so, so needed.
Thank you so much. We're going to go down south to Las Vegas. We have 3 people at the table. Go ahead and start.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. Marie Nices, Marieneissess, President of CCEA, the only official teacher union recognized by CCSD. This is my 32nd year in CCSD, and my entire career has been dedicated to working in Title I schools. I've seen firsthand the detrimental effects of high teacher vacancies on a child's education. On more than one occasion, third grade students I once taught had a revolving door of substitutes from kindergarten through second grade. I was the first licensed teacher many of them had ever had. Sadly, this is not an isolated case. This is the reality in too many of our urban core schools. Let me be clear. Regardless of zip code, every child deserves access to a fully licensed qualified teacher. This crisis affects not only general education students, high teacher vacancies also disproportionately impact our special education students. As CCA president, I often hear from educators working in high-need schools. They're stretched thin, constantly stepping in to support classrooms without a licensed teacher. This is unsustainable and it's unfair to our students and educators. I'm here to emphasize that we will continue to struggle with low proficiency rates in reading, math, and science without persistent progress in placing qualified teachers in our most underserved classrooms. In 2023, we addressed this by recognizing the need to pay teachers more. SB 231 provided an additional $5,000 on educators' base salaries to those teaching in those critical roles. This investment had a significant impact on retention and recruitment in Title I schools and special education positions. However, that funding has ended. We must maintain and expand this support if we are to continue making progress. More than 7,000 CCSD educators signed a petition calling for a continuation of funding established during the last legislative session. We cannot afford to lose this momentum we've gained. If we are genuinely committed to delivering a high-quality education for all students, we must invest in teachers who make that possible. AB 398 continues the vital work by providing targeted compensation to help recruit and retain licensed teachers in hard-to-fill roles. I thank Speaker Yeager for bringing AB 398 forward. I urge your support of AB 398. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You can go
Good morning. Good morning, Committee Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members. My name is Matt Niswonger, Nighswonger. I am the Vice President of CCA. I am here this morning to speak in favor of AB 398. The success of last session's SB 231 demonstrated how effective this approach is in helping the students and schools that need the most resources. It is difficult to attract and retain teachers to the high-need schools and to get educators to teach the subjects that have a critical shortage. Teachers often view these positions as a stepping stone to a different school or a one-year teaching assignment to demonstrate that they are a quality teacher. Once they have demonstrated their prowess, they move on to a school in the suburban ring or to subjects that are not as demanding to teach. But as we saw with the earlier iteration of this bill, teachers will come and teachers will stay in these difficult teaching assignments if they receive extra compensation. The experiment proved successful. More money moved the needle. We are working diligently to show improvement in public education with the historic investment that we received last legislative session. Excuse me. The students in schools that need the most help are concentrated within these hard-to-fill positions. In order to achieve the desired results, we must be focused on where we get the most return on our investment. Excuse me. This focus on the hard-to-fill positions must be a priority. Without this extra investment, many students in the schools with the most hard-to-fill positions don't have a licensed educator, or maybe without one for part of the year. We know through numerous studies that having a quality teacher is the biggest school-based factor in student success. If we know that all of Nevada's students must have a quality licensed teacher in their classroom, then we have to facilitate bringing teachers into the areas that are often left behind. This means compensating the teachers in these areas with a higher salary. This bill does that, and it also ensures that we avoid another one-time fix. We know the results matter. Passing AB 398 will help to make sure more resources are directed towards the schools and students that need more help. This investment will help us achieve our desired result of higher student achievement. Please vote for AB 398 and help give the areas in the most need the resources needed. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Roman Moreno and members of this committee. My name is Elizabeth Adler, ADLER. I'm a 27-year veteran educator of the Clark County School District and executive board member of the Clark County Education Association, and I'm here today to speak in support of Assembly Bill 398. In the last legislative session, SB 231 offered differentiated pay to educators who worked in schools with hard-to-fill positions and in the area of special education. I would love to pull at your heartstrings and describe the children who are negatively impacted because they attended schools where there are teacher vacancies every year. I would like to paint a portrait of the thousands of children in Title I Tier 1 schools and students who are eligible to receive special education services who are in a classroom with a long-term sub who is not equipped to deal with their needs. But that was a story for last legislative session. Today, my message is one of success and data that demonstrates that this vital investment in our teachers and in turn our students worked. This is a message that encourages legislators to continue the investment that ensures stability and consistency in these most challenging schools that are filled with students with untapped potential. This message challenges teachers in the schools to now demonstrate that their students will make measurable gains. This message encourages students who now have a full-time teacher to come to school each day knowing they're being held to high expectations with a school full of supportive adults who will work for them in innovative and research-based ways. The impact of SB 231 is clear, an 84% reduction in special ed vacancies. The vacancies in hard-to-fill positions in Tier 1 Title I schools was reduced by 53%. This was enticing enough that we were unable to fulfill the full $5,000 differential pay as more teachers took advantage of this and left their positions to move to Title I schools. In order to see results, we need to be able to continue this trend and measure results that takes time and documentation. It typically takes 3 years to observe a measurable impact from a change in an education program in a K-12 setting. We have that opportunity to invest our limited resources in a plan that has already demonstrated a significant impact. I encourage you to vote in favor of this bill to continue what we have started, a licensed teacher in every classroom and highly qualified special educators who have the training and staying power to serve our most vulnerable children in the most difficult yet rewarding schools. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll have time for one more down south.
Good afternoon, Chair Monroe Moreno and members of this committee. My name is Rita Cortez, RITA CORTEZ. I am currently a special education teacher at Chaparral High School in CCSD and a proud member of CCEA. I have been teaching in Nevada for 6 years, and I'm honored to speak before you today in strong support of Assembly Bill 398, which aims to address the critical shortage of educators in Title I schools, hard-to-fill subjects, and special education. As many of you are aware, Nevada faces significant challenges in filling teaching vacancies across our state, especially in schools serving our most vulnerable students. The high vacancy rates in Title I schools in particular have been a persistent issue. This shortage has only been exacerbated by increased demand for teachers in special education and hard-to-fill subject areas. Over the last few years, I have witnessed firsthand the toll that it has taken both on students and educators. SB 231, passed in the 2023 legislative session, provided temporary relief for educators working in these high-need areas by offering additional compensation. While this was a step in the right direction, the funding under SB 231 has been exhausted, and the vacancy crisis continues to persist. I can personally attest to the importance of this funding. During the 23-24 school year, Chaparral High School had 35 vacancies. This school year, thanks to the funding from SB 231, we have seen that number drop to 10. That's a huge improvement, but the challenge is far from over. I urge you to consider the impact that AB 398 will have not just on educators directly, but on the thousands of students across our state who deserve a stable and dedicated teaching workforce. This bill will create lasting positive change in our schools, helping to ensure that all students, regardless of the challenges they face, have access to a quality education. Thank you for your time and consideration. I wholeheartedly support AB 398, and I hope you will too.
Thank you so much. We'll move to the phone line broadcast. Do we have anyone on the phone that would like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 398?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 398, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Kimberly Reagan, R-E-G-A-N. I'm the Executive Director for Sierra Nevada Academy Charter School, where I've dedicated my life for almost 26 years. SNAC started in 1999 as the first K-8 elementary middle school charter school in Nevada. SNACS is a small independent charter school sponsored by the Washoe County School District located in the North Valleys of Reno. SNACS is a Title I school serving 100% FRL, 19% of students with special needs, and 12% of our students are identified as English language learners. I call in gratitude and appreciation with special recognition for Assemblyman Yeager for hearing our concerns and introducing this amendment. Assemblyman Yeager, I was an at-risk student myself dealing with homelessness and other issues beyond my control. And it was my second grade teacher, Mrs. Shimp, who changed the trajectory of my life and inspired the model of now how we implement at SNACS. The impact of high quality teachers we have is priceless. I would like to thank the whole committee for the equity, fairness, and respect to include public charter school teachers, paraprofessionals, and their students in the amendment to AB 398 for charter school salaries. Please vote in favor of AB 398. We do look forward to seeing you in IFC. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Dear Chair and committee members, this is Ashley Perkins, and I'm an administrator of a charter school in Elko, Nevada. I am in favor of AB 398, but I do believe that it's a Band-Aid to a much bigger problem that we have. I think, honestly, the better solution is getting back to the basics with high expectations, accountability, and support. And with that accountability piece, we have to be careful because qualified does not mean effective. And I think a lot of the legislation and regulations are drowning out a lot of the schools. We've got a lot of reports and audits that are due. We've had 13 audits in the last couple months, and it's a lot. We are turning into checking boxes instead of doing what's best for students, and outcomes are not getting any better. We do need qualified people within the classroom, but I think it's important to remember that qualified does not mean effective, and handcuffing the administration so they can't get rid of toxic or ineffective educators is not helping the cause. So I do support 398, although I do feel that it is a Band-Aid to a much bigger problem that we have in education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, esteemed members of the Assembly. My name is Emma Davis, and I'm representing Akipo Academy, a 6 through 12 charter school in East Las Vegas. First, I want to thank Assemblyman Yeager for including charter schools in teacher funding. Our teachers and staff are phenomenal. We are a 5-star high school, and 100% of our students who graduate from us graduate with a college acceptance letter. This is only possible because of our teachers, and this will help continue our work. I do urge members of the Assembly to continue to include charter schools in the high needs funding as well, as this will fix the disparity between charter and district schools as well, rather than just move it down the line. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, committee. My name is Ignacio Prado, I-G-N-A-C-I-O-P-R-A-D-O. For the record, I'm the executive director and founder of Ventura Academy Charter School, a K-5 college preparatory charter school in East Las Vegas, and also the vice chair of the Charter School Association of Nevada. I think I join most of my colleagues in the charter school space in being extremely grateful in the recognition. I want to personally thank Speaker Yeager for meeting with us to hear our concerns, and then for following through on his commitments for public comments made during the budgeting process. for doing so promptly. I want to offer our support, and we do believe this bill should advance with our support at this point. And I want to raise two technical points. One, some questions were raised around the IFC process and a match. And so one thing that I will state as our school, I only know our finances this intimately, but we've raised our compensation over 20% since the baseline of the 2023 session, largely to match the prevailing wage here in the Clark County School District. And so we did not need an IFC process to know that we needed to make those investments in teachers. And now our budget runs very lean, very much up to the brink of what's financially responsible while balancing compensating our teachers. So any kind of significant match is going to be challenging. And if anything, I would just urge you to consider at least looking back over the last 2 years when there was historic investment in education and crediting us for those raises the way that the school districts were when they were doing their raises 2 years ago, while also absorbing that historic funding. And so I know there was some comments made around it being conceptual in conversation, and so that's just a helpful suggestion. And then there is a lot to figure out still. There are various visions of how to continue to fund education, both on the Senate side through the budgeting process and so on and so forth. And so I want to echo some of my other colleagues' comments that I do hope that we can be considered for inclusion in the high needs funding for Title I schools. Excluding charter schools from that will have two impacts. One of them is somehow we'll have to explain to our stakeholders why we have to be last or second. And we just hope that is not a perpetual thing.
Mr. Prada,
we just hope there's a day.
Mr. Prada, you have reached your 2 minutes. Actually, you've gone a little over. If you want to submit your comments to us in writing, we'll be more than welcome and happy to read them over. But I'll have to move to the next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers for support.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there's anyone in opposition of Assembly Bill 398, I invite you to the table. I'll remind everyone that we have 30 minutes for opposition, and each person will have 2 minutes. You can go ahead.
Good morning, Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. While AB 398 is a step in the right direction, it unfortunately and deliberately excludes other critical educators. With Red for Ed and Time for 20 last session, NSEA has been a leading voice on the issue of educator compensation. Framing to suggest otherwise is false. We would love to be in support of this bill and have been offering amendments, sending emails, and even having meetings since this bill's introduction. Our amendment is about fairness. Our amendment is about expanding to all educators in hard-to-fill positions, including education support professionals and other licensed professionals. While NSEA advocates for our teacher members in hard-to-fill positions, there are other important hard-to-fill education positions left out. ESPs, positions like special education aides, paraprofessionals in Title I schools, school bus drivers who have had some of the most significant vacancies. Shortages of ESPs and other licensed professionals impact the job of classroom teachers, making filling teacher positions even more difficult. I'd like to talk about a member in CCSD, Misty Olmos, who's an ESP in a hard-to-fill position. She was actually going to testify this morning, but she's dealing with a student attacking herself and staff, so the campus security monitors are with her in a room trying to calm that student down and avoid being scratched. That's a Thursday for her and many like her who are being left out of this bill. It's notable that the presentation didn't mention the cost to even include ESPs. The presentation should put a number to it, since the message sent to ESPs and OLPs is essentially the legislature couldn't afford you, try again in 2 years. Hearing that today was almost as disheartening as the $2 increase to per pupil funding approved by this body, a de facto education cut that will undo many of the great things that we accomplished over the last 2 years. Every role matters when it comes to supporting our students and keeping our schools strong. NSE advocates not just for our members, but the entire public education system. That's what a union does. Solidarity Forever includes all 120 days. Please correct this oversight and amend this bill. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone at the table in Las Vegas to speak in opposition. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to speak in opposition of Assembly Bill 398?
Testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 398, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning. This is Anna Marie Binder, B-I-N-D-E-R, and I'm a parent to 3 students in the Clark County School District, one of which is in special education on his 3rd year with a long-term substitute. And I am also a proud public education advocate. I wanted to be clear, there should be no confusion between my love for our educators and children and what is happening today. AB 398 claims to address hard-to-fill positions, but it completely leaves out education support professionals, the people who drive my children's buses, support my children with disabilities, feed our children, and keep our schools clean and safe. These are high turnover, underpaid roles, and leaving them out isn't just an oversight, it's a choice. If this body is serious about addressing workforce instability, then please define hard to fill with actual data, not politics, include support staff in every conversation about compensation, and ensure transparency and accountability in how these dollars are allocated. Finally, thanks to the Nevada Independent, we know what we're seeing in AB 398 is the same playbook from December 2023, and it's no coincidence. Our communities are watching, and we are done being collateral damage in these power plays. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Jason Gately. I am Secretary Treasurer for Teamsters Local 14. Teamsters is opposing this bill as written. The hardworking support professionals in Clark County deserve to be included. They deserve to be counted as equals. Without the support professionals' diligent work ensuring that AC units operate, ensuring the children are safely transported, ensuring that all care is needed to operate the schools, and excluding them is treating them as second-class citizens. We strongly urge the bill to be amended and to include support professionals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ro Marino and honorable members of Nevada Legislature. My name is Andrea Kelly. I am the Humboldt County Support Staff Organization President for Humboldt County in Winnemucca. Across Nevada, we are facing severe shortage of educators and school personnel. While we have heard testimony today regarding shortages in Clark County, I can speak to you of shortages in Humboldt County and every other county in our state. Behind that number are real consequences: overcrowded classrooms, overburdened staff, and students missing out on critical support. To help fill these gaps, many of these vacancies are being temporarily covered by aides on special assignment who hold a substitute teaching license and are working on their bachelor's degrees. These education support professionals who are working for their bachelor's degrees are essential right now. They represent our pipeline of future licensed educators. Here's the problem. AB 398 as written leaves these ESPs behind. By not including hard-to-fill ESP roles in the bill's compensation structure, we're sending a message that their dedication, their service, and their potential don't count. We risk pushing them out of the profession entirely. AB 398 offers a real opportunity to not only recruit but retain the very people already showing up, going above and beyond, and investing in their futures to become licensed educators. If we fail to include ESPs in this bill, we will be hurting the very workforce we depend on to stabilize our schools. I urge you to amend AB 398 to include education support professionals in the definition of hard-to-fill positions. Our students deserve fully staffed schools, and that starts with supporting every adult who helps them learn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
For the record, my name is Susan Kaiser, K-A-I-S-E-R. I'm a National Board Certified Teacher and proud NSEA member. A Swiss watch is a sight to behold with its gleaming crystal that hides whirring gears ticking past the minutes. The elegant case looks good on the wrist of the wearer while providing the vital service of marking the time. This watch is more than the sum of its parts. A public school is also more than the sum of its parts. School bus drivers are up before the crack of dawn to ensure their rigs are ready to safely bring students to and from school. An army of certified teachers provide content instruction and are able to do so in clean and safe spaces because of the custodians' efforts. Lunch ladies prepare healthy food to be served efficiently during short breaks, keeping kids' brains fueled. Office staff maintain student records, including the all-important attendance. Aides provide opportunities for small group practice while working alongside the special ed teacher. In addition, a small corps of specially licensed professionals is prepared to address unique needs of students facing a challenge. They may include a school counselor, school psychologist, speech-language pathologist, or the school nurse. Each of these workers is engaged in their occupation, providing a key service to individual students and serving the larger mission of the public school. Like the Swiss watch, a well-functioning school must have all its parts performing their unique function to produce success. However, the fact is many of these jobs are hard to fill. Today, I'm asking you to oppose AB 3398 as written and amend it to include ESPs and other licensed educational professionals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Jan, Jan Giles, Giles, and I proudly serve as the President of ESEA, the Education Support Employees Association, representing 8,000 education support professionals in the Clark County School District. I am speaking today to express ESEA's concern with AB 398 and how it will impact the support professionals that work in the classrooms with the teachers in hard-to-fill positions. Using SB 231 funds, ESEA negotiated an incentive of $4,250 for 2,965 support professionals in the hard-to-fill special needs classrooms. As you know, this funding ends June 30th. Now imagine you are one of these support professionals who work in the harshest working conditions in the district. You only make $18,900 annually. You do all the lifting, diapering. You are bitten, battered, and exposed to bodily fluids daily, required to be CPR certified, yet you are no longer receiving this incentive pay. But the teacher in your classroom, who is not required to do any of these duties, is receiving an additional $5,000. Teachers already receive a higher salary, paid over 12 months, have less physical and exposure with students, receive 12 months PERS credit for only working 9 months, but now will receive an additional $5,000? This is unjust and further divides colleagues. This bill devalues the contribution of support professionals who serve the same students. Would a teacher be successful without a support professional in these classrooms? If support professionals are not included, they will leave these positions. I respectfully request an amendment to include essential support professionals or vote no on this bill. Thank you for your time and considering the voices of CCSD support professionals.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Erica Nungary, N-U-N-G-A-R-A-Y, and I proudly serve as a support professional in the Clark County School District. I support the intent of AB 398 to address critical school vacancies, but as written, this bill excludes education support professionals, and that exclusion undermines its very purpose. The physical impact may appear focused, but it's incomplete. It leaves out the very workforce that keeps classrooms functioning. To suggest that ESPs aren't essential enough to be included in this bill discredits the daily reality of our work and dismisses the critical roles we play in supporting both students and educators. By not including ESPs, you risk building a plan that fails in practice. Teachers cannot do their jobs if we can't fill ours. Ask a special education teacher if they can teach without a paraprofessional. Ask how a school operates without clerical staff, custodians, or bus drivers. These roles are not optional. They are essential. Our positions are just as hard to fill, and many of us are covering multiple vacancies just to keep schools running. Yet this bill offers no incentives for us, not even acknowledgement. I urge you to amend AB 398 Schools are ecosystems. When one part is overlooked, the entire system is at risk, no matter how well you pay one group. Thank you for your time and your commitment to all Nevada's education professionals.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tamura Jamison. That is Tamura Jamison, Jamison. And I am a business representative for the support professionals for Teamsters Local 14, for CCSD bus drivers. And I'm calling because this bill here does not support the support professionals. And that is unright. That is not right and is unfair when they are the backbones to keep the schools running. So I am here to tell you that we strongly, Teamsters Local 14, strongly oppose this bill, AB 398, and we are asking the committee to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no additional callers for opposition.
Thank you so much. There was a little more time left in the opposition phase. There's a person at the table in Southern Nevada. Are you there for opposition testimony? If you are, you can go ahead. I'm going to need you to turn your mic on. There is a button on the desk. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My name is Terry Schumann, and I am here this morning not to ask you to vote for, definitely against, and possibly to add an amendment to this bill, AB 398. So I don't know if y'all want me to talk now or in amendment or in neutral.
If you want any changes to the bill, that would be in neutral. If there's any part you don't agree with, in opposition. So go ahead and go in opposition.
Okay, thank you. It is essential that ESPs and other OLEPs, meaning other licensed and education professionals, be added to this bill. We all know that ESPs are the backbone of the district. We are the rock that leads to a firm foundation in our classrooms. I have never seen a teacher offer to clean up our schools or scrub the walls to get our schools ready to open. I have never seen a teacher leave her classroom to go out and get our students breakfast or lunches ready to eat. Yet every year we have multiple openings that need to be filled. These include custodians, food workers, teacher family assistants, other assistants that are needed in the classroom. Our administrators know that the only way that they can make things happen is to put more and more pressure on these already in the positions and therefore take away their time from the students. I do want to bring out one group that needs to be talked about this morning is our custodians. It is extremely critical that these positions get extra money to be filled. There are many times at night when I am in school when I choose to stay because there is only one female custodian working the whole school by herself. This is totally intolerable. It was not too long ago that there was a janitor who was forced to work one night alone. As he took out the garbage, unknowns to him, there was someone out there. This custodian lost his life that night as he was shot to death because he was made to work alone. There have been many nights that I'll try to stay with my custodians in the school just to make sure that they know that somebody else is there. It was just last year, we got these little white buttons that if our custodians or anybody else goes outside and sees trouble, that they can push and it sends out an emergency response. Last year, one of our custodians who was working alone by herself went out and there was a group of 50 males in our parking lot. And she pushed the button and it locked down the school. the police came. But had I not been there, I know she would have been even more scared than what she already was. These are positions that need to be filled. They are essential to our everyday school days. To be left out of this bill is totally not acceptable. We must amend this bill to add ESPs and other essential positions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will move to neutral. If we have anyone here in Carson City that would like to provide neutral testimony, I invite you to the table. If you're in Las Vegas and you'd like to provide neutral testimony, go ahead and take a seat at the table there. We'll start here in Carson City.
Thank you. Good morning. Amelia Tebow for the record, THIBAULT, here on behalf of the Nevada Department of Education, confirming that we have removed our fiscal note on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See no one else here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral position, no one at the table in Las Vegas. We will go to the phone line. Is there anyone on the phone that would like to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 398?
To testify neutral to Assembly Bill 398, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral testimony.
Thank you so much. We'll invite the sponsor of the bill back to the table. He's shaking his head no. So with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 398. And members, that brings us to the very last item on today's agenda, and that is public comment. I'll remind anyone that would like to provide public comment that you're speaking to matters that were not heard today on today's agenda. All of those hearings have been closed, so your comments would need to be general in nature. We'll start here in Carson City, then we'll move to Las Vegas and then go to our phone lines. You can go ahead.
Before I begin, may I just talk about the economy?
You have 2 minutes to talk about what you want to talk about.
Cyrus Hojati, our economic system is flawed. All systems, capitalism, socialism, communism, fascism, are heavily flawed. With donors, greed, massive profits by putting everyone under the table. People can't make ends meet. War, scarcity, poverty, crime, death, health, environmental concerns, income and wealth inequality. Our system is breaking down. And not to mention technology is endangering a lot of jobs, as many are projected. We're moving to a sharing economy where we share cars, bikes, everything else. We have enough resources such as food to feed everybody in the planet. So I support, this may sound like a radical solution, elimination of money. And this means that I am introducing a growing movement which is a resource-based economy. Look up the Zeitgeist movement, look up the Venus Project, and it's a plan being done worldwide. No laws are needed, an equal balance of power, and many of the problems I have talked about will be removed, at least almost entirely. Thank you for giving us the time. Didn't mean to hold you guys up, but please look at the movement because all of the problems we talk about will never be solved if we continue the monetary system. That is the ultimate solution I have for society. Great pleasure.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone else here at the table in Carson City and no one at the table in Las Vegas. Broadcast, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to provide public comment at this time?
You would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to join the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time to provide comment.
Thank you so much. So members, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. I know we all have floor, and I will see you again bright and early at 8 a.m. right here in the same chairs. This meeting is adjourned.